If you haven't seen the film Sinners by now, let me just start this by saying you're really missing out. There's so much to talk about with this film, and it's clear that director Ryan Coogler went into this project with the purpose of having people analyze and discuss the historical, cultural, spiritual, political, and economic themes portrayed here. One thing that stuck out for me was the character of Remick, the Irish vampire who, despite coming from a historically colonized group, has now become the colonizer by attempting to steal the spiritual power of music from this culturally thriving yet still disempowered group of Black Americans so that he can appropriate it for his own selfish desires. This spoke to me because in the stories that I've covered in my videos, specifically that of the Peekskill riots of 1949, as well as actor, singer, and activist Paul Robeson, it quickly reminded me of the white allies that surrounded Robeson, but when they were able, took their music and cultural aesthetic to enrich themselves. One example of this is with folk singer-songwriter Pete Seeger. He was an opening act for Paul Robeson when he performed outside of Peekskill, New York, a concert that would be viciously attacked by a racist and anti-Semitic mob. After this, Paul Robeson would be blacklisted, his passport taken from him, and his career irrevocably destroyed for being a walking symbol of resistance against white supremacy. Pete Seeger, while he would be blacklisted for a few years, would eventually have a career revival, reaching greater heights than ever before, and would be a grandfather figure for a new generation of white activists and artists. What has not often been discussed is the fact that he reached this status off the works of Black musicians. One example of this is with his song We Shall Overcome, often referred to as Pete Seeger's greatest known work, but was actually an African-American spiritual with its first known performance being led by Lucille Simmons during the 1945-1946 Charleston cigar factory strike. Seeger copyrighted the song under his name in 1960, a status that was only changed in the past decade when it went into the public domain. But this only occurred after the label that Seeger copyrighted it under was sued for denying the use of the song in a documentary about the true origins of We Shall Overcome. But what's even worse than this is the fact that he attempted to write a film adaptation of the Peekskill riots by erasing Paul Robeson. He replaced Paul Robeson with a similar but fictional character who, instead of singing Robeson's classic anthem for civil rights, Old Man River, would sing a Ukrainian folk melody with lyrics that Pete Seeger wrote. Pete Seeger is a prime example of the granola white saviorism which simultaneously tries to gatekeep social justice while knowing nothing about the cultures they are attempting to infiltrate. And I say infiltrate because their presence there is not intended to be long on their part, just long enough to enrich themselves, before they leave and return to the comforts of white supremacy. But you don't need to take my word on that. You need only listen to Black activists such as Julius Lester, who criticized Seeger along with Joan Baez and Bob Dylan at the height of their careers by saying, "What did they, white people, know of these songs we would sing in church and in the field? Blacks have always served as a path which whites have used to try and get out of the concentration camps of their souls."